I write them in the morning of that day. So very rarely will I have some pre-designed autoresponder, type campaign and sequence. I like to practice my writing every day. It's one of those things that I invest time in regularly, and I would say that for me, the email has been a great catharsis over the years as well. And the majority of people that are in my mastermind groups do personal coaching with me at some point have connected with me via the email list. So definitely check that out. Good stuff there. I'm here once a week for now. That'll eventually grow, I'm sure, because my business model is starting to, be built around requiring being more present and more available and putting more content out there. So it's only going to get better from here. But for now, every single Wednesday, I am here. All right. So let's see who's here now. Derek, what's going on? Corey, what's up? Big Chad, what's up, brother man? Chad, I don't know if you saw, but I put you in my video sales letter for 3 Roads. So shout out to you. I gave you a shout out there also. And Caceres in the house as well. What's going on, brother man? All right. So what else is going on? So today, what are we talking about? I am bringing up my notes. And let's get it popping. All right. My computer thinks I'm hot. My computer thinks I'm hot. All right. What the hell am I talking about? What I wrote in the email this morning, if you guys had gotten it, you would have read it. What's up, Phil? Johnny Groove, what's going on, brother man? My AI-generated picture looks just like me. Yeah, not in this fucking lifetime. If I were to look like that, my piss would be glowing in the dark. I guarantee it. Chad says I didn't. We'll check it out. 3roadsgroup.com is the video sales letter. So anyway, here we go. We have the outline for the talk. Got it up now. Okay, to start off with before I get into what I wrote in the email, let's just talk about the general idea of what I'm talking about. So my computer thinks I'm hot. In the picture I put, I look nothing like this. There is a tendency nowadays to just ignore how we are being influenced in subtle ways, not only with technology, but with the people behind the technology who are using it to direct us in one way or another when it comes to what type of rituals we're performing, how we're performing those rituals, and at the very core of how we identify with ourselves, what I refer to as self-alliance. So starting off with the basic problem of AI, and this is following the outline that I wrote in the email, the basic problem with AI, where it, addresses or connects with what I had mentioned so far, is that it allows people to build a self-alliance with the influence of an abstract non-reality. Meaning, in order for people to feel complete, they need the participation of an element, a component that is not real. It is very hard for an individual, let's say, you look at the explosion of plastic surgery, right? And some plastic surgery literally looks like explosions occurring on people's faces, right? What is the basic premise behind that? Now, listen, I got a good buddy of mine, Ethan Suplee, actor. He lost, I think, 300 pounds or 250, whatever it is. And he was over 500 pounds at one point. You lose that amount of weight, you're going to have a lot of extra skin, right? It's like basically walking around with a shirt that size, losing a bunch of weight. The shirt's going to look a certain way, and your skin, I'm pretty sure it's going to resemble something similar. When it comes to having surgery to have skin removed, I think, and I had to think about this, at one point in the past, because I wanted to be congruent, in what I espouse my principles to be and the applications, that are connected to them. My conclusion is, if you have somebody who has gained a bunch of weight, right? Let's say they're morbidly obese. Ethan was morbidly obese at one point. And they've done the work necessary, the work that we would have suggested they had done. Do this. And they do the work. And they lose that weight. And they have all this excess skin. To say they should not get that excess skin is using, I think, a position we have reserved for an unnatural vanity to an application that would really be the continuation of the transformation of who the person was with one given set of habits and rituals and who they are now with that given set of habits and rituals. So I do think that if somebody has lost weight and they have extra skin, absolutely, do what you got to do. I, at one point, was weighing 290 pounds. All right, I went higher than that, but there was a point where I was maybe 6 months, around 285, 290. I have extra skin, because of that. I do not look like a scrotum if I take my shirt off, right? Somebody weighs 500, 600 pounds. They get down to 250, 200. They take their shirt off. They're standing there in a bunch of underwear. It looks like somebody's wearing a scrotum outfit at Halloween. Guarantee it. They want to lose that extra skin. Absolutely. You have my full support. I don't think it's vain. I don't think it's weak. I think it's congruent with making physical transformations to accommodate the presentation of who you currently are in terms of habits and rituals. You've earned that ability. All that being said, getting away from the skin surgery after weight loss talk and back onto the AI and the basic problem with AI. With AI, you are telling people that they should identify with something that they can never actually be. Now, okay, you could say, well, MC, you're being a little, over the top here. People don't think that there are these AI-generated pictures. I disagree. There was a young lady, and I'm not going to put her on blast because that would kind of defeat the purpose, but I had seen her. It's actually the thing that prompted me wanting to do this talk today. I was looking at her social media on Facebook, and she's a girl who had done modeling before. Not a bad looking girl. She's married, happily married, I believe. I know her in the real world. Always seemed like a nice girl. Don't know her very well, but modeled. Okay, decent looking chick, modeled. All of her pictures right now on her social media are of AI generated images. Prior to the AI generated images, she had her professional shots, right? Her headshots or, some of any of the modeling stuff that she's done. Wasn't her hanging out on the porch, But now that AI is here, I think it's worth, exploring. Well, why is it that this good-looking woman, this model, is now representing herself to be this AI-generated image? And she has explanations about them. And there's even a point where she's trying to explain the authenticity of these AI-generated images. Again, good-looking girl, nice girl. I don't know why. I do know why. I don't agree with the premise that she's operating under, that she needs to be improved to the point of relying on these AI-generated images. If she is an example of somebody who is, by society standards, an attractive person, but they are still now compelled to represent themselves in a way that a computer program is enhancing, what it does is, like so many other things that have been introduced to society, it is separating us from our natural way of existing. So what do I mean by that? When it comes down to, it arguably begins with the Industrial Revolution. Not that there were any ulterior motives with the Industrial Revolution, but a consequence of that revolution is that it separated a lot of people from natural work. The being productive or being effective or being able to work and survive evolved, obviously, after that. And the technology that's gone along with it has further separated people from things like, hunting and farming and even physical labor and exercise. So there has been a disconnection from our natural state that was just part of the circumstances of society evolving technologically. That I completely, concede. Nothing we could really do about that. Or maybe I should say there's really nothing wrong with that. I don't think we could do anything about just about any of this on a societal scale, but I digress. Then, fast forward some, and obviously I'm skipping some things that if I did more research, I'd be able to populate the talk with more sort of bullet points on the timeline. But then we have the separation now with a little bit more of an intent of the traditional family from itself, removing of men from the home, the support a narrative of feminism that has gone to the point where the narrative is such that women today think they don't need men, that men are it's something that they don't need in order to survive and thrive in the world and society. That's how spoiled some of these women are, that they would even say something out like that out loud. You now continue to the entertainment relationship that we have through technology, what people do, kids who are becoming obese because they're not moving anymore. Everybody's on a video game, on a computer screen in front of a monitor. I get the irony. It's not lost on me that I'm doing this on a live YouTube show. But there has just been this separation of an individual and the means by which they have to build not only a functional relationship with their body, which includes their mind and consciousness, but also a way for it to be productive, a way for them to actually succeed doing this. If everybody collectively is now representing themselves through AI-generated images, and again, I have AI-generated images, the likeliness or the tendency is now to build a culture that is, considered that holds some weight, some currency, some gravity amongst the culture, and it becomes something that we can get positive attention for. What is traditionally or fundamentally, we could say, reserved for honorable behavior. It is now honorable, meaning we get a positive feedback from the people that we listen to or are influenced by for doing the thing. And the thing now is participating in these generated images to represent who we are to these people. What the hell am I talking about? We are moving one step further away. One step further away from the type of control that, if not reclaimed on an individual basis, will be given freely to people who will use you as a tool to pursue their own interests. What do I mean by that? One of the things that helped me when I was dropping the weight, right, and especially getting off, getting the beginning, off the ground and building some momentum, is I would look at those people, like those restaurants and stuff, and even the foods that I would buy that certainly contributed to the caloric surplus, which had me put on so much weight. And I would look at these people and I would design a narrative. And this is me, designing narratives to leverage and create, basically games inside of my head to get me to do what I want to do. I remember looking at this one like deli cafe that isn't too far from where I live. And I remember they had this dessert that they would have around lunchtime. And it was like and I don't really like chocolate, but it was like this chocolate cake fudge thing that was just incredible. And I remember thinking, I was now losing weight. I was now, following this plan. I remember thinking, if I went into this store, given everything that I'm trying to do, that guy would still sell me that piece of cake. He would still sell me because he doesn't give a fuck about me. He doesn't give a fuck about my family. He doesn't give a fuck about my health. All he does, he sees me as this this whatever it was, this $5 walking into his store that he's trying to get his hands on. And I would create these narratives to change and alter the relationships I had with things that were otherwise positive. And these are the games that I would construct and play to be able to, install the rituals that eventually became habits that I didn't have to follow that narrative to adhere to. But when we look at now what something like AI is doing for an individual, understand that there are going to be people who are going to promote and incentivize your installation of these technologies into your life, into your relationship with everything in your life, up to and including your own sense of self-worth, your own identity. That's the basic problem. Next, why the value of creativity will take a hit in society right now. Well, if you've studied any economics, and you don't need to be an economics student to know this, to have been exposed to this, but price and value, perceived value, is usually determined by supply and demand. You guys have heard some version of that. The more people want something, the higher it is in value if the supply stays the same. The more people want something, the lower in supply, the price increases that much more. The more people want something, but the supply increases also, the price tends to stay the same. Like the relationship of supply and demand in determining price and or value is, economics 101. Well, creativity right now is like, it's the push of a button. I literally, and I mean this literally, less than an hour ago was on a mastermind call, and one of the members of my mastermind was getting the advice to leverage ChatGPT to populate some of the copywriting he needed to create a reactivation campaign for his business. There's an idea, by the way, if you need that. He is literally not going to have to do one of the things I had to do back in the day, which was get a copywriter. I became a copywriter, so I didn't have to pay copywriters because holy shit, copywriters are expensive. Also expensive, I used to own a t-shirt company. Well, technically, I guess I still do own it. It used to be a business that was up and running. I've since taken it offline. Rough Zen, if you guys remember. All of the designs for Rough Zen required me not only finding an artist, and there was an artist who was located in Spain, who I found through, I don't know, it might have been DeviantArt, one of these sort of hubs of where artists are. And I found him, negotiated. I got a price per image that he was going to make for me. And I didn't want to pay for one because I was going to have to get a bunch. So I tried to bring the price down, so negotiate it, but I also wanted to be fair to him that he would want to still do it. So we had to find what that was. And then we had to go back and forth. I had to create basically an outline, a design, a direction of a composition of what I wanted. And then he had to use his artistic magic to take my description and make it an image. And a lot of the images, almost all the images on Rough Zen are a product of that process. I can go to DALL-E. I can go to, what's the other one? Whatever. I'm drawing a blank right now. I can go to so many different sources of AI generated art right now. And it might take me an hour. That time will only go down as technology, the AI technology becomes more, available, more ubiquitous. And what it'll take me less than an hour, about an hour now, used to take me about 3 weeks, a couple $100, and a little bit of negotiation skill. Mid-Journey. Bam! Chad Taylor in the house. Mid-Journey is what I was referring to. And like right now, the interface for Mid-Journey is like a fucking nightmare. It's a pain in the ass. But all that being said, I don't have to do a lot of stuff, which means people like me are, and people who are not as skilled as me, not that I'm highly skilled, but wherever my skill is, people, very soon who have less skill than me will also be enabled to activate and make use of this generated art, it gets to the point where there's going to be so much creative output via these AI generators that the value of creativity itself is going to diminish because the supply is going to explode. It is already, arguably. Now's not the time to be a copywriter. Now's not the time to be an illustrator. And I say that in context. Like, just understand, if I would get, $2,000 to design a 5-card, direct mail campaign, 80% of what I would put on those card designs can be done with AI in an hour or two. So much of that work, that level of creativity, because, remember, and I've spoken before about, my disdain for modern art, right? Or the modern approach to art, because I'll get the languages. I'm not as cultured as you may think I am. Whatever the term is for the art that no longer is built upon the acquisition of skill and the mastery of skills, basically taking everything that we know in terms of the application and the skill connected to it, educating oneself and training and getting a level of mastery to the point where we can now use that and build upon it to express our own individual styles. Like that process that has driven art for centuries. Now it's like, yeah, I'm just going to put a fucking white sheet on a paper and a white sheet on a wall and say that's art, and I'm going to call it something, and I'm going to create some fucking story. And it's like the emperor's new clothes, just scaled up to societal levels. Well, there's a certain point where the people who are true artists, and I don't mean that, facetiously, like people who are legitimate artists, there's going to be a time where even they are not going to be able to tell the difference between AI generated art and art that was made, from one individual using whatever media he uses. It is already to the point where I think on my email list, a week or two ago, I shared that there was a subreddit of artists, and they threw one artist out because he had put some piece of art that he created, and they accused him of it being AI generated art because of its, abstract nature, I guess. I don't know. Like, again, I'm not as cultured as you may think I am. But whatever it is, this collective of artists exiled this one artist because they accused him. And then he went back and showed the entire process of work constructing this piece of art. So you have these artists that even they at this point didn't fucking know. It was like one of the witch hunts, right? So all that being said, if you are now an individual who is looking to be creative, you're going to be thrust into a position of more supervisory direction, management than pure creativity if you're going to be looking to either monetize it or put it against the landscape of other art that's out there and expect it to be considered anything of value. The supply of creativity, creative outputs, is going to go through the roof. So the value of it is going to go down. Even those artists that say that, I could tell the difference between an AI, whatever. It's like, okay, you know what? The average person paying for a piece of art, he can't. The average person, if you look at the image that I put on the title card, the thumbnail for today's video, that picture of me, I've never looked like that. Apparently, that version of me shaves the top of his chest and shit, and he's got mangled, weird-looking fingers, which tends to be very AI-esque, right? There's always this one thing. It's like this beautiful piece of art, and the guy's got a fucking tail. Just weird thing, right? These remnants, these artifacts of the algorithm. But you look at that image, that's a pretty cool fucking image. If I were to get somebody to make one of those things, you're going to take a bunch of pictures of me, and I'm going to tell them, listen, you make sure you make my waist smaller, give me abs for the first time in my life, and make me look like I am on more fucking juice than a fucking apple tree. And he were to generate that, it would take a few weeks, might cost me a couple $100. took me, I use the program. What the hell is it called? It is, I'm going to click it right now. It's Astria. So strmr.com. That is the program I use for almost all the images of me in the art that I put out there. So that being said, it's so fucking easy, right? We have to understand the limitations of that. So now, one of the things I've been talking about for a while is, and let's get into the next point on the framework or the outline from the email. What rituals can we implement to leverage AI productively? Well, number one, understand if you are replaceable. Understand the replaceability of who you are. If you are somebody that is doing something right now for money, that there's going to be a program, that a computer program, a computer algorithm, whatever, that could do the same job, you should be looking to evolve right off the bat. Number two, a couple of personal protocols. You have to understand, catch yourself when you are designing AI versions of you that you think are more attractive than you are. You are literally setting a standard that you cannot reach, an unreachable standard for satisfaction, for even like just loving oneself, because of this just desire for other people to approve of some version, some representation of you. And you lose authenticity when that happens, right? I remember, no, I'm not even going to get into that. There are a lot of examples of people becoming disillusioned with the value of something they think that the attention they're getting is due to. Get a good-looking girl, I'm a really good salesperson. Why? Because I'm very good at persuading people. It's like, no, you're beautiful. You smell great. You're really nice. Guys want to pay you for whatever it is that you're selling because they want to interact with you. You have a guy who's, I'm really popular. Guys like me. I have a lot of friends. No, you have a lot of money. You pay when we go to the diner. You know people that we want to meet. There's all these sometimes ulterior reasons that are internalized inaccurately amongst individuals. And this detachment is something that in you will make you susceptible to just a level of unhappiness, because you are setting the standard for your happiness, for your self-satisfaction. You're setting the standard in a way that there is a component that is just not reality. You are never going to be happy enough. You are never going to be good enough. You're never going to be pretty enough, smart enough, fast enough, strong enough. You're never going to work hard enough, because you are setting these external. And it's not even like in coaching. I tell people all the time, and then jiu-jitsu coaching, MMA coaching, don't compare yourself to somebody else. For every aspect of training martial arts, everybody in each individual aspect has their own number to where they become proficient, and then where you could say, have achieved a level of mastery. Every number is different. I know people that have been doing jiu-jitsu for 20 years, still can't wrestle worth a shit. I know other people that have been jiu-jitsu for 2 years and are taking down Division I wrestlers in competitions. There are things that, it's just up to the individual. So I'm always telling people, hey, don't compare yourself to other people because you got your own path. But now this is something that is an internal process. The process I just mentioned is, hey, it should be internal, not external. Stay away from the external, process when it comes to designing your relationship with you. But this one it's like a fucking Trojan horse, an AI generated Trojan horse. Because you could be by yourself. You're building a relationship with your self-image, and you are still allowing this technology to enter into the conversation and get a seat at the table. How about when, I've done hundreds of Zoom calls, right, with the coaching program that I have. How about the setting on Zoom where it says, fix my appearance? I think that is literally what it says. I'm going to bring this up. Right, so I have my Zoom open. I'm not even going to try to share it. Right, so I guarantee they modified that. It says, touch up my appearance, right? And then it has a sliding scale. And what winds up happening is the more you put it up, the more your image looks like a fucking AI generated avatar, right? It starts to remove the lines in your head and, you know, the hairline that looks like a fucking map, a treasure map in the Caribbean somewhere. You know, like it starts to remove that and everything starts to become clean and clear. And you start to think, well, that's fixing myself. We all know women, you know, unfortunately, some of us also know some men, but there are a lot of women out there that all of us at some point probably met that when they put on makeup, holy shit, you think they use a fucking spray can or a paintbrush with how thick it is. And some of these women, they have such a unhealthy relationship with who they are and how they look that they're spending their entire life looking to just put a mask over themselves because they think at the core of who they are, they're just not good enough. They're not good enough for the connections they have. They're not good enough for the job they have, for the value that people place on them. They don't think that they deserve it. So they have all of these, you know, these masking rituals, but because they have some sense of value, they get some value from other people, but they, in their mind, they take this value that they get from other people and they assign it to these masking rituals. Oh, they better not see behind my mask, right? I remember when I was really heavy, not that I'm, you know, shredded at the fucking moment, about 240 right now, but when I was 280, 290, I would look at pictures of me when I was at that size and it's like, holy shit. It's like nobody fucking said anything to me. Like, how many meals did I go out to with people and I look like that? And none of you motherfuckers were like, you're going to order all that shit? And maybe you just, you know, you joined us, you know, later on, you know, like we'll meet you. You don't have to eat. But I was surprised because I was almost delusional the other way. I'm like, hey, I look and feel great, you know? So maybe I was deficient in the opposite direction, needed help in that direction. But there are people, and we know all of the different, you know, syndromes and dysfunctional symptoms that people have when it comes to their relationship with who they are and their sense of self-worth. Well, understand that AI is just adding to that. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I did a talk on ladders, right? And climbers and sitters, right? I created that or shared that dynamic of some people when, you know, given a ladder, they climb because they're sitting there waiting to climb. They're sitting there waiting to climb. Ladder shows up, boop, there they go. Other people are sitting down and they're making fun of the guy who's getting ready to climb. And then as soon as the ladder pops up and that person starts climbing, they have to continue to make fun of them because they aren't in a position to climb themselves. Well, if you have an individual who has built this dependency on AI, they're gonna come points in your life where that fraudulent generated version representation of who you are is not going to be authentic enough to get you through the struggle you're in. There's an idea of being grounded, right? This concept of being grounded. And it really means, you know, that you are anchored to an identity that you could always sort of turn around and remind yourself who you are. Because sometimes you will find yourself as you go through, you know, the trials and tribulations of any life, you'll find yourself in situations where you forget. This is terrible. You know, like the people who eventually, you know, enter into the arc that ends with them killing themselves. It's like you ask yourself, you know, well, how does that begin? Right. And of course, there's always going to be some sort of chemical representation of the behavior that they're having, but to get away from any of that for a second and just talk in terms of their behavior and their, you know, their perception of their landscape and the narratives that they build, it's like at some point they're telling themselves that it's not worth it. And I think because they identify themselves with this environment to the point where they don't understand it is them that is in this environment. They are not this environment. They are in it. Well, what do you think is going to happen when everybody starts to design a relationship with AI where they want to appear in a way, or maybe here's a better way to say it, their virtual version of themselves is what they identify as themselves being. It's a sad state of affairs for that individual because they are now always beholden to that technology. They're always going to be beholden to the ability of that technology to provide them the mask behind which they operate and think that everything of worth and value in their life is connected to. Let's get to some of these comments. Stop calling me. I am on YouTube. All right. Big Joe, what's up? What's up, Derek? Joe says, MC, you're jacked like that? Yeah, I wish. Corey says, I remember when you water fasted. That was one hell of a transformation. Holy shit. I'll do it again. It was such an incredible experience. Not on the agenda right now, full disclosure. But those of you that don't know, I did a 9-day water fast, and it was 9 days of nothing but water. I added some electrolytes. I think it was on a third day. I was having such bad cramps that I thought I was going to have to. Maybe it was the second day. I thought I was going to have to break the fast. But one of the things that I messed up was I started drinking well water, then I went to distilled water, and that fucked up my electrolyte levels. So I had to put an electrolyte. Basically, I was putting sea salt in the water that I was drinking once or twice a day. But an incredible, incredible transformation. And, you want to learn about yourself. You want to do the opposite of using an AI-generated, avatar of you. Go and do a water fast. You will learn who you are. You will realize even the relationship with food. I remember it was like day 7, day 8. I was not even hungry. And I couldn't understand it. It was something that was just so obviously unique to me because here I am 7, 8 days. I haven't eaten anything and I don't even want to. And I have energy and I'm moving around and I'm operating. It's like, I didn't know my body could do this. So I was learning about who I was, in the opposite direction than trying to create masks to sort of hide behind. Right. So, yeah, I don't think it's a surprise or a coincidence that most religions in the world have some sort of fasting ritual, that it's something that is a rite of passage that a lot of cultures, hold in high regard. It's because that's the thing that has you learn who you are. Right. You're on Saxa. What's up? What's up, Aaron? Big fruit in the house. Aaron asks, how does one become a copywriter? Basically, you learn how to be persuasive in writing and then get somebody to pay you for it. And say, hey, you could write that, but if you let me write that, cost you a couple dollars, but I'll do it better than you did. Yeah, it's not something that I really enjoyed. It's one thing, like when it came to being a copywriter, I didn't enjoy putting on the persona of a completely different business. I love copywriting for my business because it's me. It's something that because I only do the things that I love doing to begin with. So it was just a completely different relationship, All right. Corey says, college students are already using ChatGPT to pump out essays. People can't wait for the days when they can just ask AI what to think and believe. And it's funny. You put it plainly there, and I'm in complete agreement. But there will be people who will be doing that eventually who won't even acknowledge it. They won't even conceptualize that is what's happening. If you guys have studied any behavioral modification, animal behavior, you'll be aware of, or you would have been exposed to, operant conditioning. Classical conditioning being the Pavlovian, the bell rings, the dogs salivate. We could sort of anchor associations and trigger through stimulus, indirect, reactions in animals. Word salad, I'm just throwing out there. But in the different forms of conditioning, basically, it is an acknowledgement that our brain, right, the animal brain, can be modified beyond the awareness of its consciousness. You can be tricked into doing shit all the while thinking you're the one that decided to do it. And you may very well be the one that decided to do it, but somebody installed the desire to want it in the first place. This stuff is getting so, out there. This is a time that people, because again, this is inevitable, by the way. There is no, we need to change society. We need to turn society around so that, the family unit, is held in high regard and we start becoming healthy. And it's like, no, stop right there. Ain't going to happen. Why? Because it's too easy to follow the momentum that we're already on. What you should be doing is worried about you, worrying about your tribe. Enough people worry about themselves as individuals and then the ecosystem and the tribe around them, then sure, there's a certain point where that could scale to actually make a difference. But it's like throughout the evolution of mankind, you think there weren't some people that were at the cutting edge somewhere on the planet that were technologically sound and were sort of pushing the envelope of possibilities in terms of using technology to navigate the lands and whatever. Like, you don't think concurrently there was some guy who was sitting in some field somewhere, eating shit or, headbutting a rock to see what it felt like, or like there's always been this disparity. It's just that we've never been made aware of it until now. That's my position. So my position is that will continue to exist. The difference between the guy, it's just now there's like a middle class in terms of humanity, where you have the people that are just the bottom of the barrel because of the resources, because of where they were born. There might be other contributing factors, but it's like, man, they were fucked from the beginning. Then you have people who were born in Western society, a Western civilization, a place like America, where it's like, holy shit, you got some opportunities in front of you. And in that group, that total group, there is the dichotomy of the climbers and the sitters, right? You have the people who are billionaires, people who are like a Jeff Bezos who's changing the planet in his approach to doing business and bringing business to the market in a way that's never been done before. Like, you have guys like that. And then you have the people who are 200 pounds overweight, diabetic, but getting government money because they're technically, according to the criteria, in poverty. It's like, it makes no fucking sense. Don't think that you're sort of putting this fucking thing back in the bag. It's not going to happen, right? What's up, Chris? Chris says, I want to see what happens to male-female relationships when sex robots get to Blade Runner levels of realism. Well, I listen, I get it. What I would add to that is there are already people who don't need that level, right? Never mind Blade Runner level. They're like, Blade Walker level, and they're good. These dolls that people buy, thousands of dollars some of these things cost. Don't ask me how I know. Because to them, good enough. Because their expectation of what the engagement of a relationship with a female is supposed to be is so low, to them, it's like, yeah, I can get a rubber doll. That's good. It's the same thing, right? Better than nothing. And then, no, technically it's not. Technically it's not. If you don't have a woman, you don't get all the benefits of having a woman. But if you have a rubber woman, you not only don't have the benefits of having a woman, but now you start to throw away the benefits of being a strong individual. Holy shit. Joe says, true, you inspired me to do 3 days. How much prep did you have to do for the 9? Talking about the water fast. I got a coaching session with somebody. I went and there was like a fasting coach. And I'm like, all right, let me throw this guy a couple of dollars and just figure out what the fuck is going on. I had watched all the videos, read a bunch of books and stuff like that. And I don't think you need to get a fasting coach, but I also am somebody who sells coaching. I have a mastermind group. I want to sort of be congruent. Like, I do believe in investing in relationships to get information fast tracked to me and customized in its delivery so I can internalize it the right way. All that being said, I want to do a fast. I got a fasting coach. And he basically told me everything that I'd read. Right? And I had to navigate it as it went. After the second day, one of the things I did not realize that I should have realized I didn't pay attention to was I drink a lot of caffeine every day. And I basically went cold turkey. I had a monster like the day before I fasted, and I was like with a migraine headache for 24 hours, at least 24 hours. And then I started cramping up because I went from well water to distilled water. I started buying distilled water. So I fucked a couple things up that way. But it was just, I just made the pivots and necessary. And it got to the point where I didn't know how long I was going to do it. There was part of me where I was like, I'm going to go 30 days. But there was another part of me that knew if I said to myself I was going to do 30 days, I'd probably at least do 9. So it's something that I think that everybody should experience in some way. I mean, the fact that you did a 3-day one, that's nothing to balk at. Like, there is a certain point where it just becomes easy. Like that 4th, 5th day for me, I just wasn't hungry anymore. And on the 9th day, I remember I recorded a video. I actually trained a little bit, and I did some MMA rolling in my academy on the 9th day before I broke my fast. Just to show that like I was physically capable. It was just remarkable, Corey says, years ago, using something like ChatGPT to complete school assignments would be considered cheating with heavy consequences. Now it's encouraged. Well, I would say now it's inevitable, right? Now it's inevitable. There's another thing too. Like, I have a lot of friends that are in the survival prepper, shit hits the fan sort of space, right? A lot of capable individuals I know that have different levels of preparation. I myself have certain levels of preparation and training that, answers a lot of those possible scenarios should they arise. One of the things you get is the understanding in people who have that type of mindset that all of these amenities that you have can be lost in an instant. And your worth as an individual is who you are when all of those things are stripped from you. Well, right now, because of ChatGPT and because of the explosion of the applications of AI in content generation, there are going to be people who realize, very similar to the preppers, we'll call them creative preppers, right? Or creative preppers, creativity preppers. I'll think of something better. I'll ask ChatGPT. But whoever these people are in the creative space, it's like, okay, once you lose that AI generation, though, should it happen, what are you worth? And I don't think it's too hard to understand, too, that the better you are at these things, the more you could actually leverage with a little bit more tact and strategy these AI outlets. But there are going to be other people that are like, I don't need to know how to start a fire without a lighter. I'll always have a lighter. I don't need to learn how to, fight. I live in a city with police. I don't. And there's this naivete that goes around, and it's like, okay, listen, do whatever you think is best. But they're going to be individuals, because of the value of what AI could do for them, they're never going to learn those skills without AI, and okay, no problem. I know people that have lived for generations in the cities, and they've never had to, go through a scenario where they don't have food delivered to them or they're being, attacked by, bands of fucking hooligans and ne'er-do-wells. And like, okay, you have a good run, but I, for one, preach, understand, and know that as soon as we give it up, it's use it or lose it with any capability we have. And if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And once we lose it, we're at the mercy of whoever still has it. And they will give it to us according to whatever criteria they set to, to exchange it. Corey says, men will have to buy insurance for their robotic sex dolls like a vehicle. And somebody will sell it to them. Ike Love, my man. Ike says, yes, everyone should experience a water fast for at least 3 days. Absolutely. The benefits of fasting, it's, I understood them, or at least I thought I knew them at an intellectual level, prior to doing the fast. But now that once you've gone through it, like, it's hard to articulate it. It is something that you should experience. Aaron asks, is the fasting like some sort of cleanse or for weight loss? I actually kind of want to do one myself, but I'm just bloated / crampy all the time, and I feel like it might help somehow. Right? Well, that might help. I think that there needn't be one sort of collection of benefits we're trying to get from fasting. I think it's a ritual that's based on building a better relationship with the individual, their body. You realize what you don't need when you're fasting. Obviously, food being the big thing. But if you think about how so much of our day, so much of our time is built around these things that when you fast, because usually when you fast too, some guys are gangster. They're like still going to work for 9 hours a day during the fast. Like, listen, I was a pampered little fucking playboy in my house. Like, I was hanging out in my shorts and asking my wife to rub my back and telling the kids stop making noise. And I'm going outside and hanging out with the breeze. It's like some people get after it. But for me, it was such a meditative experience. It was just, it's never been replicated in any of the other things that I've done. And I've done some shit, and I think everybody should try it. As far as the bloat and things like that, obviously, yeah, that's absolutely a benefit of doing it. But I think the value and benefits far exceed that. I read something, Voodoo Man in the house. What's up, Voodoo? I read something years ago that said the Big Brother in 1984 wasn't actually a person, but an AI. This AI figured out that people can just be controlled if you force the masses to conform. Listen, makes sense. It would work. It would work. Dave Chesser. What's up, my man, Dave? Haven't seen you in a bit. He writes, anime and manga have gained in popularity because Hollywood only makes crap, but they're still computer-generated cartoons. Is it okay for kids to gravitate to those as an alternative to Hollywood? My kids watch manga. I just got my 10-year-old some manga series he wanted to watch. Don't ask me what the name is. It's in fucking Japanese. My position is we could be exposed to a lot of things if we have a developed enough identity. The problem is the influence that these outside factors will have on an individual when they have a malleable relationship with their identity at best. So it's like, yeah, there's certain kids that you can do whatever you want. Like my kids, like my sons, they're my sons. Like you hear me talk here, like there is no, no cussing at the dinner table. Like my kids are raised with me and they get 100% me during the course of their upbringings. That being said, I have made such a conscious effort at designing and developing their relationship with their identities that they can withstand being exposed to certain environments. You'll some of you guys will remember me saying one of the things that I've never done with my kids is censor violence, because right from the beginning, I wanted them to have a relationship with the ubiquitous nature of violence in the world, in reality. Everything from, hunting and farming to, crime, to wars, to like all of these things I wanted them exposed to, I wanted them to have a relationship with. But the one thing I never exposed my kids to is sexuality. We'll watch a movie that has some violence in it, but anything with a sexual scene or general tone or something, we either skip the movie altogether or I'm doing, blindfolds, while I'm fast forwarding through scenes, because that's something that they need a little bit of context and experience to be able to build a functional relationship with. Right. So I think that when it comes to anime, it's just the same thing. If they understand that that's not reality, they understand that, all of the, and it depends too. I know there's, to me, anime is like fucking Voltron, and like there's one type of thing that I'm thinking about in genre in terms of plots and themes. You want to make sure that you're in touch with what themes are being shared in the shows that they're watching, but that's just a general, statement. But if it's something that they're not ready to put in its proper context because of where they are in terms of their maturity, then I absolutely wouldn't have them watch it, wouldn't allow them to watch it, right? Voodoo says some anime is fine. There are pure storyline animes like Dragon Ball, for example. There are, however, a ton of sexualization of characters. There has to be some censoring of these types. And I agree completely. And, also, too, in Japanese culture, I remember when I first started learning Portuguese, one of the guys that I actually paid to coach me on the process that I was using to practice, right? What my practice protocols of Portuguese looked like. He was somebody that spoke Japanese. I actually had him on the YouTube channel before. And Matt versus Japan, that's his YouTube name. And he would talk about in his content that in Japanese culture, because he's a guy who speaks fluent Japanese, that when he was younger, he was influenced by how in Japanese culture they have a more feminized version of masculinity. And I don't think I'm being controversial here. I mean, we kind of get that, right? And I just think there's a cultural difference too. And I think Japan is known for, a culture of, repression, and their sexuality is repressed also. So it's really no coincidence that their creative outlets, explore, the expression of those instincts and drives. And yeah, anime's got some wacky shit out there. So that's certainly something you want to pay attention to, lest you walk into your living room and your 10-year-old's watching some woman get raped by a demon. Because that's a thing that they're obsessed with. Oh my God. All right. I think I'm going to stop there, guys. I got some stuff I need to do, and we've been going at it an hour. As usual, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys had fun. I did, like I always do. I'm here every Wednesday. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the content with other people. We got to keep building this list because if anybody's going to take over and control the world, it might as well be me. Right? All right, guys, I appreciate you. I'll see you guys next week. And as always, brothers and sisters out there, pressure to power.